This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your live safari as we sit here in the boiling hot sun, jealous of these wild dogs that, of course, have taken up all the shade. So get ready, everyone. Buckle up. It's time for your live safari. Welcome, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Not such a pleasure to be in 36 degrees heat, which is 97 degrees Fahrenheit, but still, we are sitting here with wild dogs, Africa's second most endangered canid, behind the Ethiopian wolf. And of course, there's not much shade, but they have managed to take it all. So I will look at you, I'll close my eyes and say hello. My name is Lauren, and I do have Theo on camera today, and it's going to be another extremely hot day where we will strive for shade. But there's lots on the to-do list. We're sitting with the wild dogs. Tandy and Cup have been found, so we'll go and say hello to them. And of course, Olivia, the most loved spotted eagle owl on the planet. So before I forget, you must talk to us as always. It's your live safari. Use that famous hashtag Wild Earth, or you can @FC on the YouTube chat, or if you're a kid anywhere in the world, you just email us your questions. We like you the most, so we'll favour you. And the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So please do talk to us. Send in your questions or your comments or your jokes. It gets rather hot out here, has an effect on the old brain. So there was elephants just behind us. Sadly, we've not got a visual now, but I think the dogs are aware that the elephants are here, but the elephants are not aware that the dogs are here. Now, Trishala had this pack this morning. We're at Vuatela Dam. It's the same ones, so we're going to sit with them just a little bit longer while we send you lot off to another location.
Jambo Jambo, good afternoon and welcome to this other side of the Masai Mara where we have a buffalo just from a mud bath. My name is Tim and behind camera we have Big James. Nice weather, about 25 degrees Celsius. It's a good time and actually for a mud bath. I actually feel like joining these buffaloes. If you look carefully, just see on the side or the flanks, they're full of mud, and that is the first place they first lose fur, and actually on the back, and that's a preferred place where they like to mud paste on their to get rid of bugs and parasites and also ticks. Oh, something scooped them. I'm not quite sure what really happened. They have a very good sense of smell, and I suspect maybe they've either picked a lion that is maybe on the other side, because that is the only thing that might spook them. We are far from where they would have got our scent, so probably I might go later on to investigate. Seems like all the other bachelors here are alert. But there's strength in number. So if it's only one lion, it cannot do anything to these buffaloes. Actually, they can even go and chase them away. So as I try to find out what spooked all these buffaloes, let me take you over to another live location.
Jumbo everyone, another lovely windy afternoon here in the Mara Triangle, Masai Mara. I have a beautiful herd of elephants, as you can see, in that riparian forest of Diospyros bassinica or Leo africana. The African olive, another name, does produce olives, but they are not edible to humans, but birds love them. They're eaten by toracos and many other. Good afternoon, I am Isaac, and on camera I have Bungay. My mission is to find Bahati this afternoon and maybe Jasiri. Those are the two missions. Apart from that, we have plenty for you. I'm sure you've been told, but you can actually talk to us on hashtag Wild Earth. Questions and comments are very welcome. And it's beautiful this afternoon, no rain, but the winds are picking. I checked on my gadget here and it tells me that the winds are about 8.5 kilometers per hour. The mistake they did, they say they were heading from east to west, but they're heading from northeast to west. But it's all lovely. It's cooling down. As you can hear, it's very windy. That is a very big herd of African elephants. We call it a breeding herd. Definitely you can see the reason why very many young ones have grown and fully grown matriarchs or adults. The reason I say matriarchs, a big herd like this cannot be led by one matriarch. Over the years, I've picked up that the herds here range from around 8 to 13. And so definitely there is a few herds here, but they've come together for a good cause. There is plenty to feed. Amongst them, there is a big bull. I don't know if you can see him. I'll stay here a little bit longer. Let's find out what's happening in another location.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a warm afternoon here at Tswalu Kalahari. Luckily, with it being warm, these guys didn't move too much this morning, so we were able to locate them rather easily. By the way, guys, my name is MAURITZ. Behind the camera, we've got David, and we are sitting with these two beautiful male cheetahs. They were actually found this morning, and even though they're looking quite flat now, The reports that we got back from this morning sighting was that they were looking to possibly hunt. So we're hoping that that might be the case. We've got a strong wind coming from the west, so it's perfect conditions. You can see how they're looking around now. Constantly still scanning, even though they're taking it easy, to see if they can't possibly pick up on something coming to the waterhole. We're not too far away from a beautiful big waterhole. So typically late afternoon, we have quite a bit of general game coming in there. So springbok, oryx, kudu, all of those things. So hopefully we'll be able to get lucky. If they don't look like they're going to do much, we are actually going to head over to those lions from this morning, see if those cubs want to give us a show, or if there's possibly a brown hyena arriving at the carcass or something like that a little later on. But for the meantime, we're just going to enjoy these two boys. Stunning individuals. And so those three female with the two cubs that we saw the other day, she's going to be very interested in mating with these guys soon. But yeah, guys, we'll let you know if there's anything interesting that happens, if they get active or so. For the meantime, we're just going to enjoy the sighting.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve, where this afternoon we've managed to find a cheetah mother and her two youngsters who are seeking refuge and a lovely little sheltered spot. There's a bit of a breeze blowing, so where they are up on that mound is quite nice and cool this afternoon. My name is Matt, and behind the camera we've got Craig. And yeah, we ourselves are also trying to find a patch of shade, as it is a blisteringly hot afternoon here on Pinda. And these cheetah are lying up on a mound overlooking what would normally be quite a full watering hole, but at the moment it is currently bone dry. And yeah, like I was saying just now, a lovely vantage point to see things coming and going. There are a couple of zebras that have made an appearance on the far side of this watering hole, or this dried up watering hole, should I say, and a place which might offer grass that's maybe a little bit more nutrient than areas that dried up earlier for things like nyala later on when it cools down a little bit more, that might come out into the open, or even things like impala that too might make an appearance. But for now, the three of them are lying up top in a rather comfy shady patch, and it looks like a mom and her two youngsters that were seen in the vicinity this morning. So we came out here to see if we could find them again, and they were lying quite nice and out in the open for us. A little bit of a reshuffle there. That youngster might just be going a little bit closer to mom or up now into more of a shady patch, and I think we'll stick around here and see what happens this afternoon.
We finally managed to snatch a little bit of shade from these dogs, and they're playing and grooming and licking and kissing. So we're just going to sit here, enjoy them, and listen to the sounds of the bush.
Okay, guys, so, I can imagine that these two boys are looking the way they are, quite tired and so on. After the rain last night, they would have had to restart their entire marking process, all patrolling the entire boundary of their territory. And, well, in general, in the Kalahari, cheetahs have a large, well, if they're territorial already, they've got a large territory, but if not, if it's still nomadic animals, they've got a large home range as well. So for these two boys, now after the rain, to patrol the outskirts of their territory, to remark everything, to, just refresh that chemical communication that they have between them and other males, but also between them and potential females that want to mate, has taken quite a bit out of them. That's probably why they're so hungry as well. Just because, they've had to spend a lot of energy since about the middle of last night to be able to cover, well, a lot of ground. I'm pretty sure they're not finished yet. Their territory is huge. However, you get a general understanding of why they're looking the way they are. We just had a question from V. How many cheetah in the area? V, in the entire Tswalu, it's going to be difficult for me to say. However, in this particular area, we know of these two males, along with two other young boys that's very much nomadic still. They won't be able to challenge them yet. Doing pretty well, though, but quite skittish, as you can imagine, because they're still relatively young. Anything bigger than them is a threat. And then also there's another young, not a young male, another single older male, which actually got kicked out by these two. He used to roam this territory. So that we know of, 5 males. And then females with cubs, we've got at least 4 to 5. And funny enough, all of them with cubs. So these males are very productive when it comes to giving back their genetics, and it's large litters mostly, so very, very good mothers, but also a bright and positive future for the cheetahs in this particular area within Tswalu, but also within the entire reserve. So I don't know if you've been following us, how long you've been following us, but that female cheetah with the tiny cubs that we followed about 2-3 months ago, before she got to the point where she can move long distances during the day with the cubs with her, and made it difficult for us to follow up on her every day. She frequents this area, so she operates in this area. That female that we had, not yesterday afternoon, the day before, with her 2 cubs, she operates in this area. Then there's a mother with 4 cubs, a mother with also 3 cubs, and another mother with three cubs. And these are just the cheetahs that we know of, guys. I mean, obviously sometimes you see a single cheetah and you might think, okay, this must be the female with the 4 cubs or so, because just when she's by herself or so. But it could be a potential female that's looking to establish a territory or a home range in the area. So that we know of, I want to say adult cheetahs is going to be around 10. Cubs, well, that's going to be 15 cubs in the area. So we've got a total of about 25 cheetahs just in close proximity, well, including themselves, to these males. So quite the healthy cheetah population. Obviously, guys, it's not like that over the entire reserve, that the concentration is so high. Over here, with us having the mountains in the background and all of that, the cheetahs do quite enjoy hunting against the mountains. Also, there's 1 or 2 very good productive water holes when it comes to general game. So with that being the case, enough food, good den sites for the females, going in the rocky areas when they have cubs, and then also with the females being around, the males are going to follow. So yeah, I'd say around 25 cheetahs, more or less, which is quite a high number for the Kalahari.
camera. Well, from cheetahs to something different, a little bit of botany here. And our sausage tree, I don't know if you remember, we saw this tree, it was starting to flower, and finally it got some sausages. The tree itself is called sausage tree. You can see the reason why. In Latin, it's called Kigelia africana, a tree found in this altitude of about 300 meters, all over Africa. I've seen it in places in Tarangire in Tanzania, Sulus. I've seen it in Botswana, and also here in Masai Mara we have them in plenty. That sausage is the fruit. It's very thick inside with a few fruits, a few seeds here and there. This tree is actually endangered. The reason is it's very hollow on the inside, and a nice straight trunk makes a very good canoe. So those tribes that live close to water and this tree is found, they find it easy to cut it down, just fix a little bit because it's already hollow, and you have a canoe. Also, we use it traditionally to make traditional beehives for honey, and so it is very endangered. The sausage itself is eaten by baboons, rhinos, and elephants. It's not very sweet for humans, doesn't have any taste. A good tree, leopards love to climb it and hide inside there. Sausage tree. We also use the sausage for making a traditional beer called muratina. If made well, actually, and you drink a lot, you can speak a lot of languages. Kigelia africana. Also, we have a tiny little shrub here. I don't know if we'll be able to really see it. It's this one here. It's called Leonotis nepitifolia, and all the sunbird flower. Only sunbird can collect nectar of it, and so it's another beautiful little shrub that we have here. Let me take you to another live location as I move on.
Welcome back to the other side of the Mara, where we have a troop of baboons. You can see that's an alpha male. He's sitting sentinel, watching over the rest of the troop as they slowly will head back to their roosting place or their roosting trees. Normally, baboons will come back or return back to their respective roosting places if it's trees or on the rocks, because preferably sometimes in rocky places baboons will roost up on rocks, and in the forest they can roost up on trees. The reason being, once they get back early, it's favorable for them because sometimes their roosting trees might be occupied by leopards, so it's easy for them to check out during the daylight like this for a nice preferred place where they'll spend the night. And if, for example, they come across a leopard that has taken or occupied their place, they'll always have to move on because they don't have one particular roosting area, so they can move on to another roosting area. You can see that alpha male patrolling and moving on slowly. You can see how he's standing, he's erect because he's the alpha and all the other ones have to be submissive to him. And you find that the subordinate ones actually team up with him, especially when intruders will try and come and oust him out, because challenges come into baboon troops and the alpha sometimes can be ousted out. While walking in the tall grass, they have to be vigilant because sometimes this Rosalind, how loud is the baboon call? The baboon call is can be heard from about 3 or 4 kilometers away, and especially the bucks, because once they see predators like leopard, because they fall prey to leopards, so those bucks can be heard from about 3 kilometers away, and that will also alert other animals within that particular area to be careful of a predator within. Thanks to the rain, you can see them eating the grass seeds on the stems. They pick the stems and then eat them. They're omnivores, so time and again they might eat flesh. I've seen baboons taking down young impalas, scorpion, even spiders. Birds that roost on the ground, their eggs might fall prey to baboons. Snakes, even sometimes rodents can fall prey to baboons. But occasionally, they will change or swap diet if needed be, because they also need some nutrients in their body. That's why sometimes they go for young Thompson gazelles and sometimes impalas, who sometimes associate with them because they get an advantage when baboons are roosting up on trees. They're eating on the ripe fruits, so whatever drops down, those impalas or grazers will be able to eat them. So they live in a big family, sometimes consisting of about 50 or more, and always the alpha family has the upper hand against the rest of the troops. You find a young one from the alpha family will bully a teenager from the subordinate families. So that means they also have the upper hand because of the alpha. And also, when they're roosting up on trees, the alpha family gets to roost or sit up on the very top of the trees, because at that high point, they are no risk to predators. You like, what kind of baboons do Mara have? So here in the Mara we have the olive baboons. So these are the olive baboons. You can see they have kind of like an olive color, but in a place called Savo in towards the southern western part of Kenya, we have the yellow baboon. So we have two species of baboons in Kenya, the yellow baboon and the olive. This is the most dominant baboon all over, evenly distributed across Kenya. So we come find always the olive baboon. You can see the young, oh, that's a big yawn. Sometimes those teeth are the ones that they use to scare opponents and intruders. It looks like he's shying off from the alpha, and you can tell by how he just behaved. The alphas always demands respect. I like the way the wind is blowing his mane. It kind of looks like a chimp, or a gorilla rather. Yeah, that way he looks like a gorilla. It seems like that place has a nice forage grass. You can see how he's picking the stem and only eating a particular part of this grass stem, the softer lower side. As I watch these baboons head back to their roosting area, let me take you over to another live location.
Now our pups are still sleeping. The adults are up on the embankment. I don't know if Theo, if you were able to get a view of them. And there's a herd of elephants behind us. But we can't show you them because they're right behind us. You're Sam Live. I'll be with you in 2 minutes. And It's believed to be the pack that I had the other day with the zebras. Now, it's dispersal members from the Orpin pack, and I think there's dispersal members from other packs as well. They've been seen around and they denned on the Mangaletti, so that's where all these puppies have came from. They were born in the Mangaletti and they've obviously travelled south into Buffelshoek, and then here they are in Djuma. Now, what I mean by dispersal is obviously a word that we use a lot in the animal kingdom. As you know, wild dogs have a unique social structure, said to be almost altruistic, but not quite. I call it altruistic. Altruistic, that's it. And there's the alpha pair, and they're said to be the only ones that really breed. They're the sort of pack leaders, and they are the ones that have the reproductive success. There's also a beta pair, and they are the ones that are the stand-ins, if you like. If anything happens to a member of the alpha pair, one of the beta members will then take over. But they can also mate, and they can produce offspring. And it's said that the alpha pair would normally kill the beta pair's offspring, but there's lots of examples of that not happening. There's lots of examples of the alpha pair raising their offspring as well. So that's not entirely true. I think it probably depends on the pack, to be quite honest. And with wild dogs, it's all about kin selection. Now, what that means is that all the other adults in the pack support the breeding pair's efforts. So they're supporting the alpha male and the alpha female for the continuation of their own genes, because they're all related. All the males in a wild dog pack are related, all the females are related normally. That's the rule of thumb. Of course, there's unique stories of lone wild dogs making friends with hyenas and making friends with all sorts, but as a rule of thumb. And therefore, by supporting your relatives, you're reproducing by proxy. You're still continuing your own bloodline, in a sense. And although Charles Darwin theory was survival of the species, it's not the best title, because what he was actually talking about is the survival of your own bloodline, which then assists in the survival of your species. It's all about your bloodline. Leopards don't care about other leopards. Impala don't really care about other impala. It's about your bloodline. So all the other members of the pack support the effort of the breeding pair. So normally dispersal adults from wild dogs will involve single-sex groups. So males will disperse together in groups to go and form their new pack, and females will disperse together to go and form their new pack, generally speaking. And it's said that dispersal occurs at an older age in males and females, so the males stay with their natal pack just a little bit longer than females do. Oh, they're so hot and bothered, and of course they're really not far away from the dam, which means that they will get up and drink. So I'm going to leave it a little bit longer before I go see Tandy, because I imagine she will also be extremely flat and panting. Ethan, you're asking, do wild dogs swim? I think that was a question. I'm just going to wait until I get that confirmed by Gwyn. Yes, you're asking if they swim. Most organisms can. At least most mammals can. Even elephants can swim. So yes, they can swim. I've never seen them swim because most of the dams here are quite shallow. But yes, they do swim. And they have a habit of chasing their prey into bodies of water and sort of walking into the water to get them. That's one of their tactics of hunting. So it's actually humans and other primates that really tend to not be able to swim. We have to learn. We're able, but we have to learn. Whereas most other mammals have the innate knowledge to be able to swim. You can just put them in water and off they go. Doggy paddle. Literally. Swimming was a huge part of my life, and it took me years to learn. I was a competitive swimmer for my country, and the learning and the practice that humans go through is really something different from other mammals who can just do it on their own straight away. So we're going to sit tight with these puppies a little while longer and send you off to another location.
So that explains why we're like sweating like pigs. And why the Ellies are here. Oh, let me tell Nicky that the Ellies are here. He wanted Ellies. I'm going to turn my radio.
Welcome to the Mara, where there's a big herd of elephants, and you can see there's a big bull just within the herd, and they all seem relaxed. Sometimes the presence of big bulls like this can intimidate the entire family, because sometimes he comes with a force and actually makes the cows with young calves to a little bit freak out and not to be restless. So once a bull like this has identified that there is no female in estrus, he quietly just grazes on, because he does not always hang around with them, but he will just wander off and leave the entire family just to carry on heading back to where they always call a night. Bulls are always solitary, sometimes in bachelor herds. So sometimes when I see such big bulls, I always know that there must be other younger bulls within the periphery of this area. So when elephants are returning back to their respective resting place for the night, from the water especially, now that they've come from the marsh, you can see some of them have wet bodies, turning into kind of dark blackish coating. So they'll always come to a place like this where they'll carry on feeding. Yes, there's another bull there. Oh, sorry, that is the same bull. Thanks, Big James, for panning around. So they'll always come back here and feed or graze and then carry on. It's very soft grass, as I can hear them just pulling off the grass. Grass is one of the preferred diet when at a time like this, because of the rains. I'm just going to hang around with these elephants as I take you over to another live location.
Good afternoon, everyone. It seems like an elephant day. We've just found a swimming herd of elephants at and beyond Ngala in our dam right in the east called Clara Dam. And it must be at least 2 different herds of elephants. You can see them all around me. My name is Tessa, and I'm going to be your guide on safari this afternoon. The elephants are joining in as well. And on the camera, we have Sebastian. So we've been sitting waiting for them to come out. And if you have a look, they are having such an amazing time swimming. So we've got some of the youngsters coming straight into the water. And I love that sound. Listen to the water splashing. So there's nothing that quite compares to me with elephants completely swimming in a dam. They have so much fun because it's so hot today. It was 37 degrees at around lunchtime. When we left the lodge, it was up to 41 degrees Celsius. So you can imagine how hot these elephants are feeling. I found a spot in the shade to watch them. But they are having such a good time. It's definitely an elephant day. Look at the youngsters playing. Imagine how nice and cool this feels, having such dark and thick skin as an elephant. And you're so heavy. Look at the great patch that's dry on its back. You can imagine how nice and cool and refreshing this is. I'm almost tempted to join them. It's so hot. I love how much their skin color changes when they're wet. They almost look black. So we're definitely going to sit here and enjoy these elephants diving into the water. What an absolutely amazing start to our day.
Welcome back, everybody, to Swimming Elephants with Tess, to a couple of months down the line, what might just be a full watering hole again. You can imagine these three cheetah would probably greatly appreciate this watering hole being filled with water right now. They too might go for a swim. I'm only joking. I've never seen cheetah swim, and I highly doubt they would submerge themselves like those elephants we're doing at Ngala with Tess. But these three have shifted, I'd say maybe 150 meters from one patch of shade into another. And where they are lying, that tree up above them is providing quite a bit more shade than where they were. And that grass may be nice and soft, but this wind has picked up. You can see the grass moving just below them in those reeds, and it's actually picked up quite a bit now, which we actually quite grateful for. A little bit of wind, because this heat is quite something. The two cheetah, the mother and one of her youngsters, are busy grooming each other. And that's what usually happens when they are lucky enough to catch something. They'll groom one another like that to get rid of blood or anything else that they might have had on them from whatever it is that they caught. And also signs that they might move a little bit, because if that was the case, and if they did catch something, they'll look to move a little bit further away from that, because come night time, that's when things like hyena, lions, leopards might be on the prowl. And something's caught their attention. We're going to have a keep looking to the left. We'll stick around and see what happens.
See, we've come to Leopard Dam, and it's even more elephants swimming. I mean, we've had literally hundreds and hundreds of elephants coming into the waterhole, not only at our eco-training camp, but also here at Leopard Dam. The fun just never ends. It's a perpetual pool party, one might say. You can see these ones just resting at the water's edge, trying to get in the shade. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike. Behind the camera is BK. And you've joined us at Eco-Training's Pride Lands Conservancy. And once again, we're hanging out at the waterholes because it is such an incredibly hot day, and this action just can't be beaten. And all these animals are literally just enjoying the waterhole right over here. That one is drowning its friend. No, not really. You can see the trunk is just sticking out there. Oh, no, it wasn't even his trunk. It was a different trunk. All very playful. This waterhole is, if anything, even deeper than in Tswalu Dam, which is great for the elephants. This one taking full advantage of the fact that his weight is supported by the water. This looks like he's having the best time ever. And the elephants today are flapping their ears vigorously, trying to fan themselves because it's incredibly hot. Over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius right now. And that's in the shade. So in the sun, it probably feels a lot hotter. This one is jealous, wants to get more screen time. That's very funny. Tori, it's difficult to say. Right now, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 elephants in this group right in front of us right now, which I think are mostly bulls. But there is one quite small one, which could be, that's a female and a calf. And there are others that are spread about in the area around here. So there's probably about maybe 15 to 20 elephants around the dam at the moment. Most of these are bulls, though, and not part of a specific herd. They are sort of nomadic, moving around in loosely associating bachelor groups. This is a female, and the one behind it is a is her calf. Difficult to say. This one's probably about 5 years old, maybe. It's a young male. See a nice rounded forehead. Underneath his belly you can see a little bit of a penile sheath there. That's a young male. Also, didn't really go into the water too much because he's quite small. Can't really deal with the likes of these larger, more aggressive males and their very rough play. Just heard a couple of grumbles just now, which probably means that the matriarch of whatever herd is in the area is deciding that it's time to leave and move on. So it'll probably only be these couple of bulls that are left in the water once the herd moves off.
How interesting is it that here at Mbiyandangala we've had swimming elephants as well, and all of a sudden the matriarch again gave the signal and all of them went rushing out of the water. So we've got a herd in the front, or part of the herd, that's completely dry. They didn't swim. And then this herd at the back is following. They're all soaking wet. They've been playing in the water. Look at the color difference. And then we've got a few of the young males that are actually still busy swimming. So they're not listening at the moment. They're having some fun, still playing with each other. And interestingly enough, it's 3 sets of young bulls that are play fighting in the water. And this herd was actually about 40 elephants. Elephant lover, that is a fantastic question. To be honest with you, I actually have no idea the exact speed that an elephant can swim at, but I would imagine it can be fairly fast. They are actually quite good at swimming. At the moment, they're actually standing, so they would be able to move a little bit slower here than they do on land, which is around 40 to 45 kilometers an hour, because they'd be moving against the resistance of the water. But in terms of actual swimming, where they can't touch the ground, I don't actually know. I would think it's a decent speed. We're having a really good tussle over there. What I actually really enjoy about this is they're really dark in the water, but this makes their tusks stand out spectacularly because they've had a clean. They were all really dirty earlier. So now their tusks are really white. Oh, and now they've swapped fighting partners. They're doing a bit of a round robin of play fighting in the water. I love the little trunk tip sticking out. Listen to that one splashing. I think the hippos are feeling a bit happier. They've got some of their space back. You can hear them in the background. That's quite a fight. He's pushing hard. You can actually hear when their tusks collide as well. So this is quite normal to see the young bulls not quite following the herd directly behind, but instead testing their strength. And because they're at the age where they want to be play fighting, learning how to fight so that when they're ready to mate, they can do it. Because it's nice and cool in the water, they're actually just capitalizing on a nice, cool environment to enjoy their play fighting. We're definitely going to sit here and watch this unfold. Absolutely incredible.
Well, look at what we have here. I have 2 savanna monitor lizards, and they are busy, and as you can see, they are mating. With all the onset of rains, there is plenty of food. I think it has activated everything to top gear, and these 2 definitely, they are mating. This is the position I've found them in. I've never seen this. So I'm just gonna experience with you. The Savannah monitor lizard can grow up to around 2 meters here, and it feeds on smaller reptiles, including snakes, birds, crocodile eggs, and even fish. A very good swimmer. I don't know how long it's been going on for. This is the position I have found them in. This is just amazing. Never seen this, never experienced it. Remember, it's a reptile, always coming out into the open in the morning sun, sunning itself and heading out for a hunt. They are very quick runners on land, and they'll feed on anything from snails, fish, crocodile eggs, even birds and small mammals, insects, and even carrion they will feed on. So they're very versatile in what they eat, making them, I think, very successful. Definitely they are not fighting. Not a single sound. They are heavily entangled, procreating. Warren, Jumbo, are they vulnerable to vulture attacks? Vultures will never go for them. Vultures prefer to go for dead things, but their biggest enemy is the martial eagle and the crowned eagle. They can get away by running very fast, but also that tail can act like a whip. They can hit you with that, and also they can hit the martial or the crowned eagle hard with it, giving them enough time to escape if the eagle hasn't gotten hold of them properly. So they're only very vulnerable to eagles, and the martial and the crowned eagle are the two of the biggest enemies. These guys are found all over the Nile, West Africa, all the way to Southern Africa. They're very well distributed. Yeah, looks like there is nothing much happening. There was a little bit of a movement earlier on, but now they have relaxed. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen next. Rather very interesting, because there's no single sound, there is no movement now. I don't know if this is the after copulating, they go quiet and then there's movement. Look at the tail. Looks like a porcupine quill towards the end. You might think that it's a porcupine quill, no, but it's part of their tail. These guys feed on snakes, and I've seen them feeding on snake. I saw them. They feed on snakes, and I've seen one killing a cobra and feeding on it. I think they're immune to all kind of snake poison, because otherwise they would actually they would actually, die. Well, I'm going to send you to another live location, but I'll stay here.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. We have these two young males that have climbed out of the waterhole and are having quite a serious fight here. They're really pushing each other around. Some of the hits actually sound quite sore with the tusks. Two at the back are fighting as well, you can see in the top right of the frame. Listen to the sounds as they're fighting. They're trying to corner each other around this little puddle. The two at the back are busy pushing each other back into the dam. Oh, here it comes. They're going to chase each other. Oh, look at that. He actually used his tusks to push the other one in. Look there. Oh my goodness. He'll be back with us shortly.
Well, there was a bit of movement and they have repositioned. Looks like it's another round of mating. Looks how he's moving his head. It's like a stuck clock. Tick, 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 tick. Definitely it's mating. There was a bit of movement where they relaxed and then somehow the female lifted her tail up and there was another mounting. So definitely it's mating. I don't know how long it goes on for, but definitely it is mating. It is not fighting. They're very well fed, these guys. I think there has been lots of food in the last few days because of all the water. The fish that has been displaced has become a very good source of food. Now they've gone quiet again like they did before. Okay, there's a bit of movement again. You can tell there's a lot of repositioning there. This is amazing, guys. Never seen this before. Yeah, the Nile monitor, has got a forked tongue, very much like a viper snake's, that it pulls out to locate its prey, and they usually hunt very close to water bodies. Definitely this is mating. Very interesting. Those things that nature tells you you haven't seen enough. This is something new for me. Angie, where and how many eggs they will lay? Well, I have to go back to my fellow guides and ask them to tell the eggs, but the eggs are hidden in either a hollow tree or a sandbank, very hidden. That's where they are. Definitely that was mating. Look at that. It's very hard to see the head of the female, but he's not suffocating. She's not suffocating, definitely. It's going to be interesting once they're done to see what happens. The skin texture is very rough, not as rough as crocodile. It's like a young crocodile. I've touched one before. And these guys, apart from big eagles, they are hunted by, leopards. I've seen a leopard kill one. But they do put up a fight with their tails. They whip. And it's actually very, very painful. I've been hit a few times. Ash, Jumbo, will crocodiles kill monitor lizards? Of course they will. They are their number one enemies. They are the ones that go for crocodile eggs. And so, given a chance, a crocodile will hesitate to kill a monitor lizard. They have the ability to smell crocodile eggs, and they dig them out and swallow them whole. So crocodiles can kill them if they had the chance. I've never seen this, so it is as exciting, the same way as you are excited. You always think you've seen enough here in the wild, but there's always something new. Definitely the guy on top, who is a guy, I assume, is very, very big. These guys, I know that they actually live for about 12 to 20 years. Some people have them as pets, but over here they're left free. They're not endangered, and they're well distributed. Anywhere where there's water, you'll always see a Nile monitor lizard. Random stuff. I think it's not very difficult for them to find one another, because wherever there is water, there is a Nile monitor. But also with the heat sensing, tongue, they're able to pick up, I think, the scent of one another, and they do leave, when females, very much like, other reptiles, do leave a chemical on the ground when they come out to send a message. I think they do that, but that one I'm not 100% sure. So basically, if there's a water body, there is always a chance that they will find each other, because the water bodies they are found in very much are not as big as oceans and lakes. Basically small lakes, swamps, that's where they are found. So definitely they will find one another. That's a very long tail, almost 2.5 feet. Well, I'm gonna stay here for a little bit longer because this is very exciting. I want to see the end of it, and I hope I can share it with you. Let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. We are still with these young, playful elephant bulls. And that one is particularly fond of reversing away from the two larger bulls. I think they've just got so much energy after swimming so nicely. So it's a bit of an unfair game for them at the moment. Normally when these young bulls are fighting, they'll be one-on-one. At the moment, we've got 2 on 1. So it's been very interesting to watch the dynamic. So you can see they're not quite sure how to play fight right now because they don't really know where to go. It's a bit weird with 3 together. Oh, now they've stopped to smell each other. Look at that. Smelling each other's eyes and trunks. Well, there's a bit of a contact. There we go. So the 2 at the back are the 2 that have been fighting the most. But then the 3rd one every now and then comes in as well. Now they're all pausing, thinking for a second. There we go. I love watching these dynamics play out here.
Now the puppies have moved a little bit further into the MAURITZ, into the shade. Helmeted guinea fowl, they all, well, I think all of them almost had a mini heart attack when they ran into them. There was all sorts of vocalizations, but the puppies were not interested. They're far too hot. I don't quite know where the adults have gone. We're in a bit of a tamboiti thicket here. But you can see this is the perfect, coolest place to be. And going back to the sort of social structure of dogs. Now, wild dog packs literally sacrifice almost everything for the pack. It's completely wired into their DNA. Pack is life, life is pack. There are stories out there on that great internet of dogs surviving on their own, but really, in order to survive and thrive as a wild dog, you need your pack. And I mentioned earlier that dispersal, same-sex dispersal, you have dispersal males, dispersal females. And when a new pack is formed, when dispersal males and females come together. And they'll have a trial period, which I think is fantastic. Humans should do that. Boy meets girl. Let's have a trial period. And if it doesn't work, they just separate. If the dynamics are not right and it's just not working, the 2 groups will just go their separate ways. Where if it does work, then of course a stable reproductive unit is then formed. And the trial period involves looking at many different factors, I guess, such as group size, mate choice, competition, and ultimately these things are responsible to forming a stable reproductive unit, i.e. the pack. That's how a new pack initially starts. And an annulment of the pack can occur within a few weeks to a few months after that first meet-up. If it's really not working, mate choice is not happening, then they'll just annul and go their separate ways. It's a very efficient way of surviving out. Can you hear the guinea fowl? They're still not happy. Polly, they have big ears to hear. That's pretty much the simplest answer. They rely on their hearing. So they have incredibly large round ears, almost like Mickey Mouse. And they function as like a satellite dish. And they can move them independently. So twitch, twitch, twitch. They've got lots of different muscles there which help them to swivel it. You see how this one's swiveling it and twitching them independently? And they basically act as 2 huge radar dishes for really, really acute hearing. Not only hearing sounds, but also the direction that the sounds are coming in. Now I know, well, I can see those guinea fowl, but I know those guinea fowl were coming from behind me on my left-hand side. But I'm not sure I would accurately be able to see exactly where they were coming from if I was blindfolded. Humans are not really equipped at doing that. Some better than others, I'm sure. But dogs can tell the exact direction, distance that the sound is coming from. But the puppies, the ears are far too big for their face. they've almost got to grow into the ears, if you like. And this really is a new pack for us. So we'll need to get to know this pack. I don't quite know how many adults there are and how many puppies there are, but when we see them all together, we'll do a count. And it really is starting to cool down, so I imagine they're going to get up soon and head straight for water.
So there's some zebra and giraffe that have just come down to drink. There was a warthog there as well, but they seem to be moving off, and I can hear some branches and noise coming off from the left of those animals. So I wonder if there's not some more larger animals approaching, maybe some elephants or buffalo. They're always so nervous around the water, zebras and giraffe. They tend to spend very little time there. They just pop there, they drink, and then they head off. Not too much time spent with their heads down, but look at the beautiful colors. There's a bit of brown on there from when they rolled in the dirt. The black and white markings are so striking. Really, really perfect camouflage as well, considering that they're black and white. But look, once they're amongst those bushes, gone. All about breaking the outline, not presenting a solid outline. Or whatever is making the noise is not making itself apparent. Perhaps still feeding amongst the bushes. A lot of activity around here. There's doves flying back and forth. There are, buffalo weavers that were... See this tree over here on our left? Oh, there's a monkey. Lots of monkeys around. What is it doing? What did it just do? It did something. It almost looked like he was headbutting the tree. I wonder if it maybe has found something and it's trying to break it open. Watching monkeys and baboons, watching any of the primates is always so interesting because they are using a part of their brain similar to ours for problem solving. They're able to assess a situation and try and figure things out. And they can look forward. I really feel like they're able to sort of think about outcomes and what might happen if they do something. Really wonderful to watch. So there's a family of these vervet monkeys that lives here on the Leopard Dam wall. Lots of big trees there, plenty of shade, lots of fruits as well. Great place for them. Also relatively safe from predators. They're back against the water and then they can run up the trees. Nothing can sneak up behind them, generally speaking. There's a whole family of them. I can only see one for now, but I know where there's one, there's got to be more. Oh, he's coughing. That's what he's doing. Oh, shame. I think he's got a bit of a cold. Oh, goodness. Hope it's not the Rona. Did you hear that? He really leaned forward and gave himself a good old cough there. Now, it's quite often the case that many animals can get respiratory illnesses. And it's quite normal. Hear them coughing all the time. They're very resilient animals, I'm sure. You'll be just fine.
Well, wherever you find monitor lizards, and this one, to be correct and to correct you, is the Nile monitor lizard. It's not the savannah, it's the Nile monitor lizard. There is always water. What I have seen in my little time with these two mating is that he has changed position. The tail of the female was on this side, they finished, and now he has moved the tail to the other side. I've tried to do, a little quick research on these guys, and it's very interesting about, a few things about them. Like I said, they can swim very fast, they can run very fast, and also they're very, very good, climbers. They are the biggest enemies to crocodile eggs. I've told you that. And actually, after mating, the female will lay up to around 60 eggs. Their biggest enemy, remember, it is the martial eagle, and it can take one weighing up to 4 kilos up in the air. That is the martial eagle. That's a very powerful eagle. Apart from that, they hatch in spring. So just after the rains, that's when they hatch. And those must be lots of young ones, 60 eggs of them. Interesting, Amali. Do they look after the young when they hatch? Surprisingly, I would say no, because what happens is they normally find a termite mound that is being used by either mongoose or just termites. They'll go in there and find a spot. They lay the eggs and bury them. And because the temperatures inside the termite mound are always controlled by the termites, once they hatch, I think they're all by themselves. So they don't look after the young ones like crocodiles. And they're lucky because once they hatch, they can feed on the termites inside the termite mound before coming out. So they don't look after the young like crocodiles. And also, they don't take them and introduce them in water immediately like, crocodiles do. There's a bit of movement. This one has been going on for almost 25 minutes now. They have mated 3 times. I don't know if it's over now. And they'll do it again. Unlike crocodiles, crocodiles mate and then they part. Then they mate again and part. It's very interesting with the Nile that they mate and then they start all over again. Every now he starts moving that head like that. I think he's done. That's a wheat here, the bird behind there. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna change the position again, but this is very interesting for me. Noodle, believe me, it's the first time I've seen them mate. And seeing them out of water like this, I believe, and the position they're in and the time they've taken, they don't mate in the water. They mate outside. I don't know if they're gonna look at the tails. I don't know if they're gonna reposition the tails again. He was on this side. Let's see what's gonna happen. Now it looks like it's done, the mating. He's telling her something. I don't know what's the language he is talking, but I'm just thinking they're gonna reposition again and mate again. They have some claws that allow them to climb with ease, and you can see them there, those claws. Again, now they have changed position. Look at that. Now that's another position. Now this is the 4th time they're mating. Yeah, look, it's repositioned again. Amazing. Yeah, another round of mating. Wow. So it looks like they take, turns one position, then they go to the other side. Looks like that's what has happened here. I'm learning a lot. I hope you're doing the same here. This is amazing, guys. It's one of a lifetime chances to see them doing it live on your live broadcast here. This is the Mara Triangle, the Masai Mara, and it's happening now. Never seen this, and it's just amazing. Black widow, Javo, how often do they mate? Good question. I cannot lie to you. I don't know how often they will mate. That is an answer I can give you for another day, maybe tomorrow morning. But I'm very happy for my fellow guides to join in and answer that question, maybe. Black widow. Very interesting. This is one of those things you never thought you will see, and it's happening right in front of me. I can tell that the female is much, much smaller. The male is larger, he's longer, and also his color is not as bright as the female. It's not always the way to identify them. Yeah, I can tell that the female has got some very bright white and black spots towards the tail. Well, this is very interesting, so I'm gonna stay here a little bit longer. Let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back to our dominance game between our three male elephants at Ngala. I actually can't believe you've been so lucky seeing monitor lizards mating. That's unbelievable. These three have decided to keep their game going. They've actually crossed to the other side of the dam. They went through the dam out to the other side. They're still playing. And you can see the one's actually been throwing himself with dirt after he got wet, so he looks completely brown, the one on the right. The one on the left looks completely black because he's just climbed out of the dam. You can see the other one still pushing him from behind with his tusks. Just a gentle shove every now and then to remind him who's boss. Move a fraction forward for you. There we go. So these elephants are actually now looking like they're going to go and join the rest of the herd. But it's just taking them a while to get there because every few steps they turn around and start fighting again. So I'd say these bulls are between, say, 12 and 15 years old, somewhere there. Almost ready to actually leave the herd, which is why they're not too worried about being stuck at the back here on their own. Because they're getting to that point now anyway where the matriarch or their mother might actually force them to leave because they're playing so much that they could seriously injure a calf. They don't realize their strength, and they're also starting to get a rage of hormones at the moment. So that's why they have so much more energy and are willing to spend it playing dominance games. I think that one's going to have a scratch. The nostril separation is actually, there's two separate cavities in the skull for the nostrils. But I would think that in the trunk itself, it might actually go all the way up. I'm actually not 100% sure. I'd never thought about that. But I can definitely try and find out for you and let you know. But that's actually a fantastic question because it's not something that you would really think about all the time. But if you look at the skull, it's the same as our nose, where you've got a bone in the middle and then two separate cavities, just like you'd have two cavities for your eyes and your ears. So the nostrils themselves go separately into the skull as well. But also, I mean, bear in mind, they don't use the nostrils for drinking or anything like that. So, and I would think as well, the the membrane in between, so your septum, which is what we call it, this bridge in between your nostrils, would probably actually be very useful for elephants to have all the way to the skull, because it's got muscle, and they need all of that muscle to help move that trunk around. That's a fantastic question, but I'll definitely try and find out for you. I'd never really thought about it, to be honest. Well, we've been incredibly lucky here this afternoon. We've watched these elephants swimming and playing for quite a while, and it's been wonderful. Especially these young bulls have given us quite a show. So I think what we're actually going to do is we're going to go and leave them here, head off to the river, see if we can find any signs of maybe a leopard or the wild dogs. And you can just see it's only hippos left here, so we'll leave them to it.
So welcome here in the Mara, where we've come to this little pond, and we have an Egyptian goose, and it seems like there's a gosling just right to the right there. Slightly, Big James can pan slightly to the right, yes. You can see that gosling very well camouflage. So cute. So sometimes, to deter away predators, the parents might sometimes walk away from the gosling and then look at what's happening. The gosling is just sitting there, blending in with the environment. You can hardly tell if that's a gosling and how the color blends in with the ground there. I wonder where the other mate is, because Egyptian geese will always pair for life, and they do take part in parenting. They're very territorial birds, so they will always keep off intruders from coming into their territories. I can tell because we approached this sighting, it's the reason why she actually walked away from the gosling. What a cute gosling there. So I'm just going to watch and see if the other mate will come, or maybe she might walk to the mom as I take you over to another live location.
Now, if you've ever seen a cuddle of cubs, this is a puddle of dogs. Look at them. They've all came together. They're on the top of the dam wall now. I really, really want to see them going for a drink. A hyena walked past. I have no idea who it was. I don't know those animals anymore. But the hyenas follow dogs just like they follow leopards, and actually it's probably more efficient to follow the dogs, because dogs are messy. They're really messy when they hunt. They hunt fast, they hunt quickly, and it's said to be quite a gruesome kill to watch, as most of you know, but it's actually... It's quick. It's quick for the prey. It doesn't take a long time, not like lions and leopards when they kill their prey. It's over very, very quickly, and it's messy, which means there's lots of remains left behind for hyenas. So normally when a hyena follows a wild dog pack, it ends in success. They get a meal. Now, they're said to be able to sort of take apart and finish an adult impala carcass, be it a ewe or a ram, in 15 minutes. Because they're hungry, but also to avoid catching the attention of other predators. Yes, there will always be a hyena there, but I'm talking about lions and leopards. Angie, that's a tricky question. I think that will happen all across the animal kingdom. I've never witnessed it myself, but I did witness in the Masai Mara a lion cub being killed and a lioness eating it. I think it was one of the mothers. So I think in the animal kingdom, that's a very tricky one. And I'm really not sure about wild dogs. I couldn't answer that, I'm afraid. Oh, there you are. Did you see that? You have a lot of doggies here that are not happy to see you. It was a hyena, just in case you didn't get a glimpse of that. It was fast. It's the same one. Did you see how they all stood up there? There is no love lost between hyenas and wild dogs, that's for sure. But I hope the hyena here understands. Wild dogs have the advantage. They've got numbers. You can smell them. That's why you're drawn in by the smell. That very, very strong odor of wild dogs. Now, they're said to be very nomadic, vagabonds. So really, you won't necessarily find wild dogs in the same place unless they're denning. So we're very, very lucky that this pack is on Juma right now.
We came across this very pretty tree with very recognizable flowers, and this is a blister beetle, one of the blister beetles that's feeding on the flower. But the flower is not the main thing I wanted to talk about. I actually wanted to talk about the bark of this tree, which is particularly beautiful. As you can see over there, it's quite rough and cork-like. It's very light and rough, and if you rub against it, you can break bits of the cork off, which I've done so in order to show you a little bit more how the texture is like. So this bark is filled with a chemical called rotenone, which is really good as an insect repellent. And so I'll show you over here now. So you can see I've got the little pile of cork, which I've collected earlier, or a few moments ago. So if I take a little piece of this and I crush it, you can see what comes out is a very fine powder. See that? So you can rub this on your legs, and it's really good at keeping away things like ticks and other parasites. And there's the flower there as well, so you can see a bit closer what the flower looks like when it's not being eaten by a beetle. Now, something very interesting about this bark is that that rotenone which fills it, that chemical, is a very good insect repellent, and it also removes oxygen from water. And so it's really good at removing parasitic fish, or not really parasitic fish, but invasive fish from small ponds and waterways. And in fact, in Europe, rotenone, the substance, has been used or has been proposed to be used to remove exotic species from waterways so that they can repopulate them. Well, this is quite controversial, of course, but it's a very interesting stuff and a really wonderful plant. It's a really great garden plant as well to have because of those beautiful flowers. So a really, really nice plant to see out in the bush. So if you see a purple flower with this nice corky bark, you know it's a cork bush, Mundulia sericea. Very wonderful plant to see. Awesome.
Okay, guys, so just came through a valley here to start heading towards where those lions were this morning, and come across a beautiful filled up waterhole and these stunning buffalo. Looks like a young bachelor herd, which is quite uncommon to find. You know, typically when you find bachelor herds of buffalo, you find them being older boys, you know, those Duggar boys that we so often talk about. However, these are still youngsters. You can see how those tips of the horns are still very shiny, and that boss hasn't really filled out yet, you know, up to the point where it's got all of that character, that typical crash helmet effect. They are just loving life at the moment, you know, as you can imagine, with something as big as a buffalo. They will be very happy that the rains have come and that the grass will start growing and all of that again. But yeah, so beautiful young group of buffalo, and there's still a lot of growth that needs to happen before these guys are the dominant boys. So possibly could also be just that they, moved out from the herd to come and have a drink of water, maybe lie in the water a little bit, cool down. It is a warm day today, so could be something like that. And the herd is not too far away, so it's possibly not even a bachelor group by themselves. It could be just them doing their own thing. Quite interesting there. You'll see there's a little dominance display. They jumped down. Those two individuals there on the left-hand side. The one just mounted the other. The one at the back mounted the one in the front. It's not because of anything else other than he's trying to show that one in front that he is stronger than what the other guy is. You can see just looking at the horns, the one at the back is a little bigger. So he's going to try and do that. Oh no. We just had a question from Rosalind. How heavy are buffalo, Rosalind? A big male buffalo, like a proper big boy, can get up to about 800 kilos, maybe 850 if it's a really stunning individual. Females typically around 500 kilograms, but maybe let's say around 400, 450. So very much like cattle, where the bulls there, you can see them rolling in the mud a little bit just to cool down. Where the bulls can get up to anything above 700 kilograms, and then the females are typically around 400, 450, big females up to about 500. If you do need a size reference, you can use cattle to have a general idea of the size of a buffalo. Obviously, not all cattle have horns like that. That guy is just enjoying himself now. But size-wise, they are very much alike. I've seen a documentary, this is a while ago though, where they used, because of tuberculosis being quite a problem within buffalo, especially when you go to Kruger and so on. Some of the farmers have actually, when they breed with buffalo, they take the buffalo calf away from the mom relatively early in its life, and then they give them to Jersey cows to nurse them. And those babies grow like mushrooms after that, because the Jersey cows have a little bit better milk. But also the main thing is they don't have TB. So that's why they don't want to have the calves be infected with being in the herd or so on. Just an interesting thing about that. But yeah, as you can see, guys, buffalo, all the big animals, they love spending time in the muddy puddles to help them to cool down. Having such a big body. We've seen the elephants bathing today. Gwen, can you just repeat that question quickly? Oh, hold on. We just had a question from Holistic. Why don't they have much fur? So just as soon as you get the animals being larger in size, you find thicker coats, and with that being the case, they generally don't need as much fur. If you look at an elephant having a 2.5 centimeter to 3 centimeter thick skin, I mean, that's a thick skin to have hair growing out of. Same thing with a buffalo. They don't have as much fur when they're little. You'll find them having thick coats. But then as soon as they mature, they don't need as much fur. Also, guys, having fur around your body, being such a big animal, that's going to trap a lot of body heat inside. Imagine walking around with a blanket or a jersey around you the entire time in temperatures like this. So they have the lack of fur because they've got the thick skin. Also, to regulate their body heat during the day, the thick skin will help them to stay warm during the evenings. However, during the day, they want as little as possible cover or insulation around them to be able to cool down sufficiently enough, because as you can imagine, there's a big engine inside that buffalo creating quite a bit of body heat. That's why they make use of the puddles of mud and water also to cool down. But the lack of fur is definitely going to help them to not have as thick of an insulation around their body to trap the body heat inside for long. Also, being such a big animal, parasites is going to take an effect on you, so ticks and so on. Having less fur on your body gives the ticks less, surface to grab a hold of. If they just have to grab a hold of the skin, it's going to be much more difficult for them than to grab a hold of a nice furry patch of coat or skin, on the animal's body. So yeah, we're gonna, as these guys walk away, guys, we're gonna move on as well, head towards where those lions might be. But as soon as we pick up on something, we'll let you know, okay?
Well, my monitor, Nile monitor, they're still at it, and looks like the female has slept. She hasn't made a move for quite a bit. Mind you, just to tell you, I've done a little bit more research, and I know that now that they actually mate once a year, and onset of rain usually triggers that. So this is about it. And a clutch of 60 eggs will be laid. They are still at it. They might look like nothing is happening, but they're firmly attached to one another. The female hasn't made a move, and that's why I'm thinking she has slept. Looks like they're very healthy by the looks, well fed. The texture of skin and size of body tells me they've been doing very, very well. I must say this is a very good time for them to mate, because what takes them, the martial eagle, is not as active this time of day. Otherwise, they would risk getting caught while busy. But it's a very, very good time. It's just cooling off. It will be interesting to see the ending and see what happens and which way they go. Like how I told you, I've never seen this in my 20 plus years of guiding. I've never seen this. Liz, you ask how big they get. They can get up to around 5 feet. That's including the tail. The tail can be around 2.5, and the body the rest. And they can weigh up to 4 kilos. So they're huge, they're big reptiles. Apart from being on the ground, they're very good swimmers. And also they can climb very tall trees. Remember, they feed on snakes, rodents, fish, other insects, and also crocodile eggs, small birds, and sometimes they climb up a tree to rest. Apart from nesting in termite mounds, they can also, nest in hollow trees, and that's where sometimes also they hide during the day. In the heat of the day, they can climb trees, hide in hollow trees. Yeah, they're still very much at it. Ricky, have I ever seen a Nile monitor baby? Yes, I have. But they're always very frisky and swift. They try to get away from you as quick as possible. They know that they're on the menu for many, many critters, and so they always try to get away from you as quickly as possible. I assume of those 60 eggs laid, mortality rate is very, very high, because as much as crocodiles are taken by water birds, eagles, other crocodiles, very much the same would happen to these Nile monitor young ones. They will be taken by fishes, they will be taken by eagles, crocodiles, and snakes, so they're very vulnerable to many predators. I think for me this is very interesting. I'd like to see the ending, so I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer. Let's take you to another live location.
From the monitor lizard to a lone hippo bull that is slowly grazing and walking out of the marsh, I can see two birds, the woolly neck stork The woolly neck stork got the name from the neck that looks like a wool. You can see that white part of the neck looks like it's woolen. That's the reason why they're called the woolly neck storks. That's hippo bull is slowly grazing, and you can see he's got scars on his back that are slowly healing off. Normally hippo bulls that are ousted out from their territorial area will come or walk out and go and find a suitable place where they'll come and rest. As I change position to have a full view of his body, let me take you over to another live location.
An incredible sighting, what I've been waiting for. The reason I haven't quite gone for Tandy. The puppies are nervous. They're a little bit scared being at the water. They're thirsty. The adults are a little braver. But with water comes crocodiles, remember? Not this particular dam. But they don't know that. Isn't this lovely? Many of you are loving this. I know this is what I was waiting for, so I'm just staying silent to let you enjoy. Some of the adults are being very brave and coming down the other side. The entire pack is split up. You've got one lying down in it, you see. But they're nervous. This is nervous behaviour. quick count. Okay, I got 16 in total there, but I'm going to recount. Yeah, I got 16 again in total that I can see. I think that was John Dre you're asking. Quinn can correct me if I've got that name wrong. Now, wild dog packs generally are quite large, and they can have up to 21 pups in one litter. That's their sort of maximum amount that they can actually have. So you can find packs that I believe go up to about 30. But what you've got to remember, the larger the pack, the more mouse you've got to feed, the more visible you come. So normally when it gets to about 20 to 25 individuals, generally some will begin to disperse. You become too obvious, too noisy, smell. Predators will sort of spot you more easily. It's just too much maintenance. But I think the largest recorded pack was 60 individuals, if I'm not wrong, from the Serengeti. A long time ago, the Serengeti populations almost got wiped out. So on average, around 20. Look at the pair lying down. Stuck in bed, yes, I would imagine so. Most animals do. When they're thirsty, they will go to clean water points, and that will be your treehouse, Twin Dams, Buffelshoek Dam, Vortella Dam. But of course, water is water. And when you need to replenish, hydrate, muddy watering holes, you will see animals like this drinking from that as well. They're wild and they're all just coming down to lie in the water. Wild animals are sort of way more adapted to the pathogens and the bacteria than we are out here. So yes, they definitely prefer clean water, but I have seen dogs, hyenas, even leopards drink out of very muddy pools with algae in it. This is right in front of the dam cam as well, so I'm sure that dam cam's getting fantastic views. Now, just to give you some context, it's nearly hunting time. It's cooled down, the sun's getting marginally lower. We're not too far away from quarantine, so I do wonder if that's where they're going to head. A nice big open clearing with lots of impala. One more time with that question, Gwen. I don't understand this question, I'm afraid. Will they befriend each other? Defend. If there's another pack. Glenn, you're asking, will they defend each other? Yes, they're a pack. They're a unit. Just the same as clans, actually, and prides and coalitions. If a threat was to approach, then yes, they would work together as a team. Although that seems very altruistic and very sort of taking one for the team, it's also selfish. You're more vulnerable on your own as an individual than you are if you're a collective, part of the pack. So if the pack band together and collectively defend off the threat or the predator or whatever the sort of reason may be, then they have more chance of success than if they were just on their own. So it's not really worth a wild dog's time to panic, separate from the pack, and then find yourself facing that threat alone. So yes, they will defend against another pack, Glenn. They're all on the damn wall now. It's so lovely. Yep, they're heading in the direction of quarantine. So I think I'm going to get up onto that damn wall and see if we can follow them.
Yes, my savanna monitor lizards have changed position, and I can confirm that the female is not asleep. She moved a little bit, and it's still going on. The female, you can see her head is turned to the right, and the eye is quite wide open. Normally, they would shy off and get away from us as soon as we arrive here, but these two have been very comfortable to hear my voice and the vehicles around without any issue. So this is an affair that they take seriously, and also I can respect that, because if it happens once every 1 year, I can say, they deserve it, and I hope it is productive. Remember, as I told you, they live about 12 to 20 years. That's how long they live. And anywhere there is a river, a lake, a swamp in Africa, they are found from sub-Saharan Africa, spread out through East Africa, all the way to Southern Africa. Those are altitudes of around 3,000 meters and below. I'm gonna stay here because it's really interesting. I hope you're really enjoying this.
So welcome back to the other side of Mara, where we've actually missed out on a leopard that is around this forest to our right. That's the reason why I'm trying as hard as I can to see if we can get a glimpse of the leopard. It's very thick inside here and making it difficult for us to get to see the leopard, because also we're losing light inside there. And with the long grass, it makes it even more difficult to get to see. So I'm just driving slowly to see if maybe the leopard might decide to climb over the tree. But at this time of the day, the leopard will be out hunting. So not necessarily, or maybe there might be some carcass around, because they'll always come to drink water and then head back to where they've had their kill poised. So I'm just trying to change position. In the meantime, we have a lone hippo bull just to change position, and he is slowly grazing over there. So hippos will normally... Oh, what spooked him? That was interesting. Or did he just hear a leopard? I'm not quite sure. But whatever spooked him made him just go deep. And the side that he's actually looking at is that just where we actually have missed the leopard. But leopard don't always go for big hippos like this. Their safest point is in the water, and they just saw what happened. Whenever they feel frightened, whenever they feel threatened, they just run deep into the water. So we're always very cautious when walking. We never want to get caught between a hippo and water, because they'll always run back into the water. Look at him staring. You can hardly tell if there's a hippo because we're losing dark light and it's getting dark there. You can think that's a rock. So they ascertain the situation once they're in the water. It's dusk now. So that is the reason why he was out of the water to graze. But being a lone hippo by himself there, he sometimes can fall vulnerable to lions, especially a big pride of lions. So just wait here to see what spooked him to get into the water as I take you over to another live location.
Now, they haven't quite gone to quarantine just yet. It's almost as if they're still assessing the landscape. They're awake. Every moment that goes by is getting cooler and cooler. They're listening, they're smelling. Now, I already know there's huge numbers of impala on quarantine. And that's their sort of preferred prey species. I've got this one coming back to the water's edge, look. I don't think we can get a view of it from here. He's going to drink this one. They're all watching an adult drink. Honey, normally when they either reach carrying capacity or once the pups get older. So there's 16 here. And once these puppies, we don't know them too well, but once these puppies get older, it will become too much. Far too many adults. It won't benefit the cause, if that makes sense. And therefore, most likely, these puppies will all disperse. The males will disperse together and the females will disperse together. They will not start their own pack. Why? Because they're genetically related. They're siblings, they're litter mates, and therefore the puppies starting their own pack would not make any sense. Not genetically viable to start a pack with your siblings and mates. It would just be an alpha pair, but that doesn't make sense. So the puppies most likely will disperse in their own single-sex groups once they get older. I just know any moment now they are going to run and it's going to be a case of Ferrari safari. It's all peace and quiet now, but trust me, this is going to change. Samantha, you're calling them painted dogs. Their other name, isn't it so lovely? Because they do look like they've been painted with, well, paintbrushes. Like a beautiful watercolour. Their lifespan is anywhere between 6 to 12 years in the wild. I really can't speak for captivity, but they have quite a short lifespan in the wild, really, and the average is said to be about 6 to 7 years. That's the average figure, but they can live up to 12, and lions really are the biggest threat to wild dogs. Okay, they're starting to move into the open area, so I think it's going to benefit us just to get there so we can keep an eye on them. Once they get to this open area, I think a hunt is going to happen. It's definitely cooler. You can see them all. Hello, puppies. So we've got to navigate around some corners and some vehicles here, but I think it's just better to get round to the open clearing, and therefore we can watch them. So if these wild dogs start hunting, you'll be right back with us.
Yes, my Nile monitor is still at it. It looks like it's a marathon, and it has been going on for over an hour now, and my research tells me it can go on for up to 2 hours. I think it's necessary because they wait for very long. They breed almost once a year. And also, I think no wonder we don't see very many of them, because they're not very many. They have very many predators. The light is fading. You can hear the frogs waking up. They're comfortable now that all the eagles and other creatures that feed on them have gone to sleep. They are still at it. They've changed position. I don't know if you noticed that. The tail keeps moving from one side to the other. I think that's how they do it. It's very hard to differentiate between male and female. I will be researching more on that, but they look very, very similar. Apart from body size, I don't see anything else that's bigger. Coloration is almost the same. I would say the female is slightly younger, and that's why her tail is brighter colored. She's got like white. The white is very pronounced, and the black towards the tip of the tail. Unlike the male, it's very fan-tailed and also quite thick. It's very slow, but it's happening. Rag Jumbo, you ask if the female is the one with the porcupine tail. Yes, indeed. She's got very bright tip, black, white, black, white. That's the brighter one. That is the female. It would be interesting if the male lifted his tail, because it's very confusing when they are together like that, tightly together like that. I cannot really tell where it starts or where it ends, but I can for sure confirm that the bright colored black and white, the pronounced, is the female. He jacks like that for a little bit and then goes quiet, and then it's time to dismount and then change position. It has happened about 7 times now in the last 1 hour. I don't know how much longer it had gone on for, but it is said they could do it for 2 hours. there are animals that I can compare that go this long, hippos and rhinos, but this one has taken the record. It's very long. Can you hear the frogs? What predators do these, reptiles have? The enemy number one is the martial eagle. It is known and it has been known to kill them. Flying away with the 3 kilogram Nile is quite easy for it. With its long talons, they're easy to hook through the skin and take it away. But leopards, I've seen a leopard killing one. So also leopards do kill them. And then another enemy in the water is the crocodile. The crocodile will kill them without hesitation. So those are their enemies. Mind you, this is a reptile that we go for a very long time without seeing. And I think the mortality rate is very, very high, because all those places that a Nile monitor lays her eggs are usually occupied by other predators. For example, if it's a hollow tree, it's a good place for a python and other monitors to nest. And if they hatch,
the dogs are here, they're on quarantine. There's Impala. Impala, haven't seen them. It's a bachelor herd and they've been fighting amongst themselves. It was a very, very aggressive clash. The dogs see the Impala. One's looking a bit nervous, but they were really clashing horns. The dogs have got their ears down, they're in hunting mode. This is going to happen, everyone. See, look. They're all getting ready. This one's going to run. This one's running. Run. And off the pack goes. Look at that, right in front of the car. Go, go. Okay. I don't know where to look now. They're all coming out of everywhere. They've taken over quarantine. Okay, let's follow. Are you ready? These ones up ahead are doing the real running. These ones have been a bit lazy. These ones are after the Impala. Hold on to your hats, everyone. Okay, they've all stopped. I don't know if you noticed, but the Impala did not alarm call. There was no time. It was, oh dear. There's a pack of dogs. It's time to run. They've all got to support one another. Someone's got to make the decision. And it was always thought that the alpha male led the hunt, but that's not always the case. Now, it won't be the puppies. but it doesn't always have to be the alpha male. Very unhappy lapwings. The wildebeest are just off to the side as well. They've spotted them, looking nervous, huddled in their little corner. This hunting technique is so different from your cats. This is called coursing. I think quarantine is just completely emptied. The hyper carnivores are in action. Only the crowned lapwings remain. Okay, let's repost. No, there's a dog there. Okay, I'm going to move. There was a dog in my way, but it's moved, so we can move. The wildebeest are just over here. Now, wild dogs can take down wildebeest. But here, especially in the Sabi Sands, is most commonly impala. 80% of their diet is impala. Baboons. Wow, everyone's on quarantine. It's been a while since I've seen baboons here. They're heading right towards our camp. Don't you go near our camp. Okay, I'm going to reposition for the dogs. I cannot believe how quickly this area is just emptied of impala. They're all over here. I don't want to get too close. When they're hunting, you've got to give them the room, the space, and the visual field. I just wonder where they're going to head next. I don't know what happened there. Okay, we're going to try and keep up with this pack and hopefully they get dinner soon.
Okay guys, so we're on our way to the lion sighting from this morning. Just going past a couple of water holes, seeing if there's any activity over there like we did with the buffalo earlier. But have a look at this cutie. Beautiful little ground squirrel sitting right by its burrow. As you can see there, he's ducking inside. And you'll quite often find these little guys, you know, sharing burrows with the meerkats. They are exclusively herbivorous, so it's quite nice for them now. As you can see, there's quite a lot of green shrub and so on coming out. So they're very happy campers. Lots of food, and this is also now the time that they'll start thinking about having little ones as well. You know, especially for a female that needs to raise a couple of pups. this is the perfect time because her condition will be good, so she'll be able to provide enough milk. But have a look at that bushy tail, guys. See over there. So, with them being so small, they use that bushy tail quite often as almost like a diversion when they're running. So when there's maybe a jackal running behind them trying to catch them, or a African wildcat, they'll run very quickly and then flick their tail in one direction and then they'll turn in the other. So that will then, you only see the flash of the tail turning in a certain direction. So that'll then cause the predator to go in that direction and he can then duck the other way, which is quite cool. And it's a rather cute little guy.
Well, the puppies have got dinner, that's for sure. The adults have left. One of the adults, I believe it's an impala, or used to be an impala, took it down, left it to the puppies, and the adults are off. And it's almost gone, and that happened just under a minute ago. Look at that. I thought it might have been the little steamboat that's hanging around quarantine. But Michelle said it's an impala. Wow. And just like that, that's not enough. They'll hunt again. The adults are off and they're heading right towards the drainage line, where we won't be able to follow. Hungry puppers. At the sea? I hope that's terribly wrong, but I'm just going to roll with it. They only regurgitate normally when the pups are at the den. These pups are much older. They're no longer denning. And they're sort of living the vagabond lifestyle, moving with the pack now. So the adults will not regurgitate to the pups at this stage. What's happening is the adults are killing, hunting, and leaving for the pup. That's why I thought that might have been the steenbok. Small enough. Steenboks have a habit of freezing, and the adults have gone off to catch more food. So no one's regurgitating at this stage, but when the pups are young and they're kept in the den side, yes, the adults swallow food to keep it safe in their stomach, and then they will regurgitate when they get back to the den for the puppies. It's not a very pleasant sight, but it's quick. The killing from wild dogs is so quick. But it's not only the puppies that they regurgitate for the adults as well, that have been invested in, maybe being babysitters or den guards, or maybe even injured individuals who had to stay behind and stay at the den. The adults will regurgitate for them as well. And when the adults come back with food in their stomach, there's a lot of excitement around that den. And they actually beg. They do something called begging. So they know the adults have got food and they wait and beg for the food. And even the adult dogs are said to sort of assume almost an infantile begging I guess domestic dogs beg too, but not in the same way. That's a very domesticated behaviour. It's not having a purpose in their social hierarchy. Here's others coming. It's just other dogs. You see how they got afraid there? They heard something. They thought it could possibly be a hyena, but it's not. It's just the rest of their pack, the puppies. And then they're overjoyed to see each other. You just saw each other 5 minutes ago. Okay, I count 7 puppies here. Ah, what an incredible sighting. I absolutely knew this was worth waiting for.
How incredibly lucky that you got to see those wild dogs finishing up an impala. I'm sure there'll be some hyenas in there soon. We've actually just run into this very bloody spotted hyena cooling off in this little puddle in the riverbed at Anbiondongala. And actually we came down here looking for a leopard because there were reports of a leopard very close to where I'm staying, in the house that I'm staying in, this morning. And we know it's an unrelaxed leopard. It's the Nyala female, which some of our viewers may have seen before. And we actually came down here hoping we might find her tracks, and we found the spotted hyena, and the muzzle is completely covered in blood. You can see how red it is towards her nose. And she's very alert. You can see she's not relaxing. She keeps looking around. She's smelling. She's listening. And so we're thinking that it might be possible that where we heard of that leopard this morning, there were some impalas with little lambs. Maybe that leopard managed to make a kill and the hyena managed to steal it from her, and that's why it's all bloody and so alert as well. Because if there's fresh meat, it will attract other predators, other spotted hyenas, maybe even a male leopard or a lion to come and look at what's happening. And so that's why she is so alert. You can also see close to her left nostril, there's a whitish mark. That's actually a scar from maybe a wound from being smacked in the face or bitten by another hyena. We've been listening in the riverbed. We're hearing some francolins in the background, and every now and then we're hearing one alarm calling. So we're actually wanting to see if she gets up and moves. You can see how alert she is. She's actually looking straight at where those francolins are calling from. She's actually getting up. Look at how full that belly is. It's hanging very low. Definitely eaten a lot. And she's got much better hearing and sense of smell than we do. So we're very interested to see what it is that she's so alert for. So normally if a hyena is relaxed, especially in a little puddle like this, she wouldn't be worried about looking around so much. But I think because this has been quite fresh, the leopard was seen around 9 o'clock this morning in this area. It's very likely that, that particular leopard actually really enjoys hunting in the middle of the day. It's a trait she learned from her mother. So maybe this was quite recent. Jackie, this hyena will definitely be part of the clan. I'm not sure which one. We have quite a lot of different hyena clans on the property. In this particular area, I think she would most likely belong to our clan that's more dominant in the east of Anbiondongala. But she doesn't have... she has got a distinctive spot pattern, but we don't keep track of each individual hyena here because we have so many different clans. We have one of the highest densities of hyenas that you can find. So that's actually part of the reason why our other predator sightings can be so incredible, is because we have so many spotted hyenas at Ambiyandangala. And especially things like cheetahs, we don't see as often because they get pushed out by the larger predators. She's actually also got some wounds on the tips of her ears. So I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a slow drive down the riverbed in the direction that she's looking. Maybe we might find some tracks or hear some more alarm calling, and then we can go and investigate further.
Welcome back, everybody, to Tess with her hyena out and about this afternoon to what should be now a little bit more active as it starts to cool off this afternoon. A lioness and her two cubs, who are, you can see every so often a leg kick and a tail flick from one of the youngsters on the right hand side. Mom out for the count, like those cheetah we saw earlier. Today's topic of conversation seems to be flat cats. And yeah, age just goes to show here, the youngsters inexperienced and a little bit more energetic and playful. We may start to see them move around a little bit in the next couple of minutes. But as we sit here and we look a little bit further to the west, we have an absolute perler, for the better use of the word, sunset that we're being treated to, which I think is a little bit more exciting than what those lions are doing for now. And I can only imagine that when that sun does disappear, that these lions will become a little bit more active. There's a little watering hole a little bit further to the right-hand side where they may venture off to have a little bit of a drink and then carry on and get up to the usual nocturnal antics. But for now, there is still that breeze blowing, and they're lying down in an area that's completely shaded now by these clouds that have rolled in this afternoon, and that temperature has dropped significantly. So not only myself and Craig are quite relieved about that, but I'm sure those lions are too, because it was a particularly hot day here today on Punda. Everyone just commenting on how beautiful that sunset is. Completely agree. We are spoiled this afternoon, and I think that's just going to get better and better as that sun disappears. You can see those rays breaking through left and right. Sorry, and Craig was having a look at the lions, who are still not offering much. But that sunset, in particular, those oranges and golds and yellows coming through there. I know if you tell that's in another part of the country, which is not too far away from here in Pietermaritzburg, and I believe there are quite a few storm warnings for us here as well. So I'll be interested to see if that does blow our way. Just looking back towards that direction, there is quite a big bank of clouds still at a distance, but who knows, maybe a little bit later on this evening it's a different story. But for now, in the cool of the afternoon, we get to sit and enjoy the sunset with those. I might spend a couple more minutes here and see if these lions do decide to move and what happens with the sunset. Otherwise, we'll carry on and see what else we can find under the cover of darkness.
It's all fun and games here. It was a impala lamb, I'm afraid. It's just really the outer skin that's left, and they're just playing tug of war and chewing and pulling and playing, and another lamb didn't make it to see the end of the day. Leah, it's a process when the puppies start hunting, and they of course learn from the adults. So the minute they leave the den, that's them learning. That's the sort of process starting. And at this stage, they're learning the skills. So I really don't know. We missed a takedown here, I'm afraid. But at this stage, they really are learning the skills from adults. And they're small. It's difficult to see until you compare them. Oh, there's a giraffe watching us. Hello, giraffe. Excuse the vehicle. It's Michelle. Yes, sorry, I got distracted there. And they're homing in their skills now. So puppies this size goes against them. So they won't be able to take down anything big, but they absolutely could hunt something small to practice their sort of hunting skills. And wild dogs are known to time their denning period with the end of the impala rut. So that, of course, once the puppies are ready and mobile like this, there's plenty of food everywhere. It coincides with summer as well. So they start to leave the den at about 3 months. Molly, wild dogs... And the adults must be returning. We're just going to maneuver around here. Wild dogs have an alpha male and female at the top, and they're the only ones that breed. So essentially, they are the leaders of the pack. All other individuals will respond to and follow the alpha male and female. Oh, they're bouncing about everywhere, so much excitement. I think all the adults are going to... They're going to go back the way they just came. Okay, round and round we go. The sun's setting, it's so beautiful. The puppies make this noise, they're excited. The adults are coming back. It's happiness, it's joy. Okay, there are other vehicles here, I'm afraid. So you may see 1 or 2 of them in the background. But we're not alone at this sighting. Yeah, the adults are slowly coming back. I have no idea if they caught anything. I would have imagined that they did. But slowly but surely the pack are reuniting. They left the pups, went to feed themselves. It's all about the puppies. Out of everybody in the pack, over the alpha male and female, it's all about the pups. Donna, they're not like hyenas. They're not known to sort of crush through bones. They do have a powerful bite, sharp teeth, and that carnassial shear that all carnivores have, but they're not known to really eat bones the way that hyenas do. They might crunch through some bones or gnaw on them, but no, they normally go for the flesh and leave behind the remains, which is exactly why hyenas always follow them. Because there's normally always scraps to pick up. They're messy eaters. No manners, have you? They leave behind scraps, they leave behind skin, they leave behind bones. So the hyenas normally come in and clean all that right up. Which work both ways. The dogs don't want it, they're leaving it behind. And really, that's a hyena's role in the ecosystem. Scavenger, clean up the ecosystem. A job that no one else wants to do. Imagine if you had carcasses decaying everywhere around quarantine. Disease would spread, pathogens, bacteria, smell. It would be terrible. They would eventually biodegrade, but that would take a long time. So hyenas come up and clean it right up, as do vultures. And any other scavengers. Jackals would come in as well. This pack has kept us so busy I didn't even get my visit to Olivia. Oh. There's still time yet. They're settling down, it's getting cooler, but they still could make another hunt tonight. Everyone's got to be fed. Each belly's got to be full. So we're going to sit with this wild pack a little bit longer.
Alrighty guys, so it is that time of the year where the red-crested corons are busy going crazy as far as their mating display is concerned. This is one of them, and we also call them the suicide birds. So with that being the case, the reason why we call them that is they fly straight up into the air, the males now, and then they close their wings and then come falling down to the surface of the earth. And just before that happens, before they hit the ground, they'll then open their little wings again and start flying. And whoever waits the longest, that's the one that the lady will like most. Quite a bizarre way of, showing your bravery or your intentions. But we just heard him calling. And they've got a very particular call just before they go up. It's a very rapid vocalization. So we were hoping that he was going to do this mating display, but it seems like he's a little shy now. So we've got the two species of coron here at Tswalu. We've got the red-crested coron, this one, and then we have the northern black coron. Northern black has got a totally different mating ritual or display. He just flies in a circle, screaming the whole time, basically. This one is a little bit more impressive. However, the northern black coron's coloration is quite cool. They're quite the beautiful bird. But yeah, midst of the mating season, you find these little guys doing their mating display a lot, and then you just see it looks like popcorn popping out of the bush. I'm going to go a little bit back, see if we can get another visual on him. But yeah, very, very cool to see that display. But as you can see, I'm just going to stop like this. If he does move past the bush, we'll see him. But they don't often like to do it on camera. So if we do get him, we're going to be lucky. But however, just quickly wanted to show you that little guy. Quite cool to see them, even though they're not doing their display. So yeah, guys, I think we're going to move on. He looks like he's hiding. Go towards those lines, okay?
So we have been doing a little bit of gallivanting around, and we've managed to relocate this herd of buffaloes that was at the waterhole earlier there, moving through here. And actually I was on a walk with some students in this exact area about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we had a wonderful encounter with a herd of buffalo just like this. It was really amazing to watch how the herds work together. So this one at the front here is a pathfinder, or something that we would know as a pathfinder. So it's one of the older buffaloes, not so old, and they move at the front of the herd. trying to make sure that there's no danger up ahead and finding the best pathways. Then in the middle, you've got some of the females and the youngsters. At the back, you've got other large males, and they bring up the rear. And it was really wonderful to watch. A little noise happening to our left. I think there must be a male buffalo that's busy smashing up a small bush to strengthen himself. Oh no, it's two young males actually having a bit of a play fight just back there. 2 or 3 of them. See them in there. They were pushing and shoving each other. But these are the young males that bring up the rear. Rambunctious and powerful and full of energy, and they will easily defend the herd from anything trying to come from behind. Grinning bear, it's not easy at all to get a specific age. All I can tell you is it's young, it's old, or it's in between somewhere, I suppose. But so with the male buffaloes, it's easier. When they're young, coming into their fully grown age, they'll have a large boss, but it's still quite smooth. These are all females that we can see here, so it's not so easy to tell with the females. But once they get much older, you'll see that boss becomes smooth and shiny. So there you can see some males coming in there. The boss is big, but it's not yet got that shininess to it. So these are, almost coming into their full adult stage. There's a young buffalo that's probably a yearling, just with one little, like the straight horns. It's very difficult to tell, though. I'm not sure I can exactly age. I know that a buffalo gets to about 15 years old in a normal circumstance. This is a young buffalo over here. Smaller than the others. Oh, what's wrong with that one? It's got a massive tick or something underneath. What is that? What is that? Maybe it's just something stuck on It looks like a beetle. I think there's a beetle stuck there. I think as it's been moving through the bushes, there's a beetle of some sort that's gotten lodged underneath its horn. There's one on the other side as well. I can't really tell. That was so weird. It's definitely bothering it. Do you see how the ear was flicking? Grinning bear, it's a good question. I'm not sure I could answer it very effectively. Do they lose their horns while fighting? Well, that's an interesting question, because actually, just a bit earlier, there was a different herd of buffalo that BK and I found. We couldn't film them, but there was one young buffalo there which must have been in a fight, and one of his horns has been massively damaged and is slowly falling off. It's just hanging on by about half of the horn material, so you can just see like bits of blood and like actually the inside of the horn material. Very difficult though. As you can see, the buffaloes are moving now into the thickets. You can just see the backs of some of them. But it was very amazing to watch. So yes, definitely, their horns can fall off if they fight, and it's very painful. Just like the kudus, just like impalas, if they're fighting and their horns break, it's a disaster for them. They basically will never have their horn again. It'll be very painful in that moment. And this particular buffalo was being harassed by oxpeckers about a month ago. The oxpeckers were really pecking at that fresh wound. Now the wound is much less fresh. There's less oxpeckers on it, but there's still some buffalo behind us. But they were still sitting on the back of that buffalo. It's definitely something that happens frequently. I should say frequently. It happens, not frequently, but not uncommon to see a buffalo with a piece of horn missing. They can have a variety of different shapes in their horns. Some are swept back, some are straight up, some have got a big, nice curl. Be amazing to watch. I love buffaloes. Buffaloes might be my favorite big five. I think I've mentioned this before. Just awesome.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. We have been driving around looking for maybe any signs of that leopard, and we came across this herd of impala. We actually stopped because quite a few of them were steering off in the same direction, so we thought we'd spend a bit of time with them. But they're just in an absolutely stunning area at the moment. And the sky behind them is just starting to change to a beautiful purple. So that purple you can see above the horizon is actually my favorite color. But what I love about this tonight is that you can actually see the sunbeams coming up over the clouds. That's definitely one of the best things about being in the bush is the sunrises and sunsets we get to experience. There's quite a few females here that have tiny little lambs. A lot of them are also still heavily pregnant. But this is my favorite time of day to be out and about, because this is when all of the impalas are feeding for their last time for the night, but also when things like leopards start becoming a lot more active. So it's never a bad idea to appreciate some of the smaller things like impalas, because you never know what might come around the corner. One of my favorite sightings of my life was sitting like this with a herd of impalas. A leopard came rushing and killed the impala, and then the lions came in and stole the impala from the leopard. So it's always good to appreciate being able to spend time with anything out here. So we're going to see if we can find any other signs of that predator with the sunset.
From one carnivore to another, we're sitting here with Miss Kalamba, not part of the Kennedy family, but the Felidae family. She's nervous. We're at Timbeta Pan. Used to be Inga's, it's now Timbeta. She can hear the dogs. The dogs are making so much noise on quarantine. The whole pack have came together, but we left to make some space and come and see Kalamba. She can hear them. And apparently 2 dogs ran right past her. She's a little bit nervous. Look, the tail's up. Oh, Kalamba, you were sitting pretty for so long. She looks full. Wonder how many baby impala she's had today. She can hear the dogs. The dogs are on the other side of Timbeta, sprawled out across the whole of quarantine. Hey, beautiful girl. You don't like these doggies, huh? Just like in the domestic world. It's dogs versus cats. The birds are also not happy. I think she's thirsty. That she's too nervous to go to the pan. And it's because of the dogs. They would probably chase Kalamba and she would run. But I think that's the extent of what would happen. This is Kalamba's birthday month. She was born at the start of the 2nd week of November. She's a birthday girl, and she's 3 years old. She was born in November 2017, the daughter of Tandy and Tungana. I can't think of a better combination of genetics. So all of this is happening in the one area. We've got dogs on one side and a leopard on the other, in very, very close proximity to one another. And that's why she's nervous. She's not quite sure what to do. on, girl, go and have a drink. I think she's got a kill somewhere, or she's finished a kill. And she's been resting in the shade all day. And just as the dogs are going to settle down, because they're crepuscular, primarily diurnal, Kalamba's nocturnal. So it's the ebb and flow of the predators out here. The dogs are going to settle and Kalamba's going to wake. She's already awake, but... Oh dear, stuck in bed. I could not honestly say. I have no idea if Kalamba is pregnant or not. Physiologically, it's possible.
My dog's still on quarantine.
Well, there you go. There's your update, everyone. The dogs are still on quarantine. It's physiologically, and biologically possible. At this age, no one's seen her mating. But I have no idea. Stuck in bed, I really have no idea. Leopards are so secretive in nature anyway. She's territorial now. She's coming into her own. But until next year. Normally, when it comes to female leopards, primiparity comes with setting up your territory and having access to all your resources, sort of coming into your own, if you like, before they have their first litter. She's a big girl. She's staring directly in the direction of quarantine. Bunny Rabbit, there's an entire building and lodge in between them. She can't see the dogs. We're at a place called Tumbeta, and the dogs are on the other side. She's got no visual of them. She's just aware that they're there. She'll be able to smell them. She'll be able to hear them. They're very noisy. And two of them apparently ran past her earlier. Oh, look at that lovely position stick. My cameraman's shaking his head. There's always a stick. Apologies, that light is not coming from us, I'm afraid. There's other vehicles in the sighting. And there's a stick. I hope you're all counting. Who's counting? Rewind, go back to the start, everyone, and start counting. You're going to be at it for a while. Let's begin. Let the games begin. Yes, sorry. So there's a building in the way. The dogs are far away, but she's just nervous. She's solitary. She's a female. She's cautious. Female leopards can't ever risk getting injured or putting themselves in a position where they could be attacked or they could be hurt. Isn't that right, my girl? I want you all to send in your answers after this. #WildEarth @FC. How many tongue laps? Oh dear, we might not finish to get to see the sequence through, but you can at least send me how many laps you counted.
Welcome back, everybody, to And Beyond Pinder, where we've come across a crash of white rhino this afternoon. You can see they're all caked in mud. The top half of their backs are still quite grey. And I'm sure they were in like that leopard that you just saw at a watering hole. These four were probably doing the same thing, having a bit of a wallow. But I'm going to keep quiet because they're actually close enough for us to hear them grazing this grass this afternoon. And every so often you hear those high-pitched squeaks, the communication that they use to chat to one another. And I'm hoping that they do the same thing while you sit and listen and watch these four white rhino this afternoon. Really faint squeaks and noises that you hear, and I'm not sure if you can hear them, but that one that's walking by itself at the back is the one who's making all the noise. And the only way to really describe it is it's actually quite a sweet noise that you hear from that calf, and it could very well be the calf of the one on the left-hand side. It might be two cows and their calves. Size-wise, they're considerably smaller than the adults. But quite interesting that it keeps on communicating, that youngster. I wonder if you can hear that. That's incredible. I was hoping that you could, and I'm glad that you can, because those are super special sounds to hear from them. It's not something that you get to hear very often. But I think now that you see it's gone a little bit closer to its mom, that's exactly what's happening here. Two cows and their younger calves, just together for company. All four of them have that sort of very distinct black mark on their backs, that mud caked on their backs and their faces. So all on a super hot day, probably lying in a watering hole, having a bit of a wallow, or what they call a spa treatment for these rhino, because that when it dries up, they'll go rub against a tree or a post or a rock or whatever it is that they can find to help get rid of ticks and parasites. But that's also one way that they'll cool down on a really hot day. Constantly listening out. That wind has died down significantly, so now out in the open and just enjoying that, not having to rely on their sense of hearing and sense of smell. Van Raasgil, you're asking how fast rhino are. You wouldn't think so, walking around like they are now, but they can get up to speeds of around 40-45 kilometers an hour, which is really quick. For an animal that can weigh upwards of about 2.5 tons. But this lot are not going to run away anytime soon. I think they're just enjoying this grass here this afternoon that they're busy eating. And you can hear, you can actually hear that munching or squelching from that lips of that rhino that you had now in picture as it lifted its head there. As they've all got their heads down, you can see those ears just listening out, seeing if there's any potential threat or danger. And then those squeaks again from that same calf. Interesting behavior from this youngster, and I'm wondering if I maybe haven't jumped the gun with my assumption of the sex of this Rhino on the right. Gestra is asking if anyone hurts Rhino. Besides other Rhino, maybe, but who's it? Eric from Angala was telling us of a story. One of the hardest things he's had to watch was hyenas. 3 hyenas that were giving a mom and a calf quite a hard time. A calf considerably younger than these 2 that you see here, a lot smaller. But besides them, not really much. I mean, they are really big, 2.5 tons. And with those horns of theirs, they can do some serious damage as well. So something like a cheetah or leopard will often run away from them rather than try and do any harm. Off to our right now, in front of us, we're hearing alarm calls, which in an area like this could mean something like a leopard starting to get a little bit more active. I'd be interested to see what happens, but I might just see where these rhino end up, or just wait and be, if we're patient enough, something to pop out on those rocks up ahead of us.
Alrighty guys, so as you can see, a bit more activity around the carcass at the moment. They've almost completely finished off that zebra though. The little ones are also tucking in. There you can see them right over there. Cutest little guys. Yo, and their bellies are round, hey? Whether it's the big ones or the small cubs. We were laughing at, just as we pulled into this sighting, one of the 5-month-old cubs tried to lay on his back, but that belly was so round he couldn't keep his balance, so eventually he went for laying on his side. You can see those little ones are out for the count now. And look at how round that belly is. Full. And then there you can see them properly. Lazy. Tough life being a cub. It amazes me how quickly they've finished this kill. However, I mean, if you take into consideration Gestra just had a question. Do lions sharpen their claws on trees? You know, we see them quite often scratching their claws against the tree, and I do think it helps to a certain extent to, you know, clear out any debris underneath it, maybe some mud that got caught, maybe blood or something like that. So just to get that nice and clean again, which will sharpen it to a certain extent. Whether it physically, like a stone will sharpen a blade, sharpens their claws, that's difficult to really say, hey? I'm not sure. However, it is commonly accepted that they use the trees to scratch against, and that is believed to sharpen their claws, whether it is just cleaning out the nails underneath or whether it's physically sharpening the nails as well. Like I said, it's possible. It's difficult to really say. You know, I've never felt the claws of a lion before he scratched it against the tree, and definitely not after. So it's really a tough one to answer conclusively. However, I do feel like it will clean their claws underneath, and that will give it a more sharp effect. So let's say yes. You will find them also scratching the trees to, you know, get their scent on the trees, especially the males. Well, females as well, guys. Remember, with lions, it's not only the males that have territories. The males have territories around or overlapping female territories. So both male and female will mark their territories. And in scratching a tree like that, that also leaves their scent behind, and also visual markings for the next lion who comes by to know that, okay, this area is occupied, or my sisters or my brothers have marked here already. So maybe just refresh the mark, or you can walk past and mark the next tree. So they do use it as a means of marking their territory as well. I've seen that with a leopard as well. So very possible that they do sharpen their claws like that, but definitely also use it to mark territories.
So she decided to just perch herself up on a fallen tree here, right behind Timbetta, very, very close to the dam cam. So if any of you are keen dam cam viewers, make sure you watch closely tonight. And the superstar might be Miss Kalamba. Oh, no, we're not going to rest for too long. There's lots of things to be done. The to-do list is very long. We're going to be very busy. Oh, scoosh, scoosh. A little bit of urine containing marking fluid. Lots and lots of compounds, more compounds than we could ever imagine. And we're actually able to analyze them using chromatography. So it's not the compounds that leopards recognize when they're smelling another leopard's scent. It's the code of the compounds. So each leopard will release the same compounds, if that makes sense. The same chemical compounds will be in leopard urine, but at different variations. So it's almost like each leopard has got their own barcode, if you like. And they can recognize each other. Oh, scoosh, scoosh. There we go. A little jet on the vegetation. That's how they mark their territory. And it's using this marking fluid that has a unique code. And I use the word code loosely because it's not. It's a different variation in the compounds. But it's easy for us to think of it like that. Now, we are losing light, so it's going to be very dark. And there's other vehicles around. So I'm going to have to reposition in just a moment. And the dogs, I wonder if they've rested somewhere up on quarantine. Quarantine's just here, and Kalamba's walking right towards our camp. So I'm going to try and follow our princess for the last remainder of drive.
Alrighty guys, we just went around a little bit. As you can see, those little ones are now properly tucking into that kill. It's amazing to see how much meat they're already eating. Oh, shame, and there's just a little bit of talking going on. They are the cutest little things. Now you see, the reason why he did that was because we just had a question from Barbara. At what age do lion cubs start eating meat? So Barbara, for me personally, that's a tough question to, again, conclusively answer. What I've said before is it depends on the female. Let's say this. At a month of age, they're definitely not going to be able to eat meat yet. But so these little guys are now 2.5 months old. And we're already seeing them now on this carcass eating quite strongly. So as you can imagine, I thought this morning it might be their first kill that they join. However, seeing how they tuck into this, I feel like they've been on kills before. So let's say they were about 2 months old before they started eating meat. Now the 5-month-old cubs or 5.5-month-old cubs that we have in the same pride, their mom only brought them to a kill for the first time when they were 3.5 months old. So it absolutely depends on the mother. I would say a good, estimate as far as when a lion cub's stomach will be able to handle meat is around, let's say, 2 months. However, it's not often that you find the females actually introducing them to kills from that time. Like I just mentioned, the older cubs, their mom actually only introduced them to meat at around 3.5 months of age, which is a month and a half later. With the cheetah cubs, we've also seen that, when they were those little ones that we've been following, they were also we saw them physically on their first kill. And that was also around 3.5 months of age. So I'd say typically you'll find that females bring them to kills around 3 months, but in this particular instance, they are a little younger, and they have been introduced to meat sooner than what expected, and they seem to be handling it pretty well. The way they're digging into that, I don't think they need milk at the moment. They'll definitely drink a little later on, just as like a dessert, but they are definitely tucking into that. All three of them. The one is just looking what the others are doing, but I think he's actually seeing that rib cage being so well illuminated there, and being quite interested in why or what's going on over there. Papa got a little bit of a shout from his brother or sister there. How can you tell if there's a lion? Gwen, I got most of that. How can you tell if there's a lion where? Ooh, okay, so Zay just had a question. How can you tell if there's a lion in the grass? It depends on the length of the grass. But let's say this. When we are walking on foot, if we're doing walking safaris, and you are following lion tracks, the first thing that you will notice, if there's a lion in the grass and you didn't see it yourself, is a growl. So they'll let you know that they're there. They don't just charge at you, so they'll typically stand up, make themselves visible to show you that they are there. From there, if you still don't listen, they'll give you a growl. If you still don't listen, they'll give you a warning charge. And if that still doesn't work, then you're in trouble. To give you if we have to think about the zebra, she definitely did not know that there was a lion in the grass until it was too late. And that had nothing to do with the fact that she was following their tracks. They were actually hunting her. So you can see the tail flicking. That is always a sign of aggression with lions, if they're flicking their tail quite vigorously, either sideways or up and down. I want to say sideways, you still have a chance. Up and down, they're really angry. Over here, current state of the bush, because the grass is only starting to grow now, we would be able to see them relatively easy in the grass now. If they're lying behind a bush, that's a different story. But give it maybe 3-4 months for the grass to get about knee height, then it's going to be those signals that I just told you about, the ones that whether they're going to... See, that's what they do if you get too close as well. Everyone's wide awake at the moment. So, guys, you heard the sound that came out of that lion just now, and that was with one of their teammates. So, if you are walking in the bush, you are definitely not one of their teammates. So that sound, amplify that a little bit. You'll definitely know there's a lion in the grass in front of you if they don't want you close by. But yeah, that one just crept up a little bit too close to the kill now, or moved in a funny way. And the other female was just not in the mood for it.
Welcome back to Anbiandangala, everybody. So we have got the most beautiful evening here tonight. It's lovely and cool all of a sudden. And there's insects calling from everywhere. And we've just been ambling along looking for any signs of the predators. It's absolutely incredible to think that today had such weird weather changes to get to where we are now. It doesn't even seem like the same day. This morning was overcast, cold, a little bit windy. We were wearing jackets, jumpers, jerseys. By this afternoon, it got up to 41 degrees Celsius, and now it is the most beautiful evening. So it's definitely one of the prettier times of the day, when things are starting to settle down for the night, and when the cats are actually getting more active. We've been incredibly lucky today, actually. If I think about it, we've had some amazing sightings. I think my favorite thing that I've seen this week might be those elephants swimming, though. It's not every day you get to see them enjoying themselves so much. Nina, I think, that's actually a tough one. One of my favorite moments in the bush. There have been so many incredible moments. I've been here for 3 years now at Anbiandangala. There have really been some absolutely incredible moments. I think one of my favorites has been when I had a leopard. A lovely, beautiful female. She was killed when her 2 sons were 8 months old. She actually was really comfortable around us, and this last litter that she had, which is the Makoti male and his brother, she was incredibly comfortable with us, and she pulled her carcass closer to us and brought the cubs over to come and feed next to us, and she actually left them there and kind of moved off a little bit and started watching from a distance. And that for me was just massive, because she trusted us enough that she brought her cubs closer and actually moved off. So she was just watching and actually started snoozing. That was quite incredible. But there've honestly been so many. There've been some really special moments, especially with the Birmingham Pride, this time of day in particular. And I think all-time favorites, always any wild dog sightings. It's always incredibly special because they're so curious. But yes, I've been incredibly lucky, Nina. I've had some incredible sightings in the bush. You actually put me a bit on the spot there. Too many to choose from.
Alrighty guys, so the emotions are getting a little higher as the meat gets, less and less. So you can see all of the adult individuals now around the carcass. Not everyone feeding though, but not everyone. Well, you can just hear those sounds coming through. That's amazing. You can hear all the cubs talking as well. They're not quite in the mood for all of this emotion at the moment. However, they are in the midst of things. Luckily, they're quite shielded when it comes to these scuffles. You won't really find one of the adult individuals. A little bit of cuddling going on there. You won't really find the adult individuals taking out their frustrations on the cubs themselves. It's more the adults with one another. But it just always amazes me the power of the sound that can come out of these lions. I mean, yes, they're beautiful. We just had a question from Michael. What is my favorite thing about lions? Wow, there's a lot, eh? I would have to say, seeing them operate as a team when they're busy hunting, you know, the coordination between the females, well, and the males to a certain extent as well. When they do hunt without making a sound, or, you know, us seeing them communicate is just always so incredible to me. I think if we had teamwork like that, we would be a lot more successful. But then again also, guys, I mean, these cubs, how can you not love that? Those sounds coming out of them, the cuteness that's streaming out of them. And then there's those male lions, when they start vocalizing, there's no better sound than a male lion vocalizing next to the car. Everything inside you starts vibrating. It's incredible the power that they have, and that's just in their voice. There's a couple of things, but I'd say if I had to highlight it, baby cats, you know, like these little guys that we're seeing right now, that has to be one of them. The male lion, or in general, you know, if this pride starts vocalizing now, it would be insane. So the vocalization of a lion, and then just seeing their teamwork when they're hunting or when they're busy stalking, how they coordinate with one another, it's just incredible. Look at this little guy now. Oh, shame. They are just the best. This female closest to us, guys, is probably the lower ranking female in the group. That's why she's not busy feeding at the moment. You know, she's very docile. Her belly is full, so it's not like she's... That's quite charming. It's not like she needs to absolutely eat now, but as you can see, now that the kill is getting finished, everyone wants one last little bite before it is done. So So we just had a question from Alice. How do we know when they are play fighting and real fighting? Alice, absolutely just the intensity. When they are really fighting, the sounds that come out of these animals is immense. I mean, you would not be able to sit next to them and keep your calm or your cool when they are fighting like that. I've had the privilege of seeing 4 male lions fighting for real ones before. It was for a territorial battle. So two young boys coming in and kicking 2 old boys out. Now, sad to say, the one older male didn't get killed in the fight, but he died like 3 days later. And this happened maybe 20 meters in front of my vehicle. And I was lost for words when that was happening. Then again, when it comes to play fighting, there's a lot of running and jumping and, you know, working with their paws, but no physical biting, no physical scratching, those types of things. That's more practicing for when they are the big boys one day, or when they're the big girls one day. So practicing for when they need to take down a zebra, and practicing to take over a territory one day. So you'll visibly see the intensity is not the same when it comes to play fighting than when it comes to the real fights. Cubs will also only play fight. They might have a scuff or two around a carcass if both of them want the same piece of meat, but it's not really going to be a fight. It's going to be a slap in the face, and then they've sorted it out. But the real fighting is reserved for the adult lions, male and female. And then play fighting typically, well, you'll find that with the adults as well. to a certain extent, you know, just that when they're in a good mood, but more in the cubs. You know, that's when they practice and enhance their hand-eye coordination and their skills for one day when they need to be the adult lions. But guys, unfortunately, it has come to that point where we have to say good evening. It's been a wonderful afternoon, and we're so happy that you could share it with us. I hope that all of you will be joining us tomorrow again on channel 183 on DSTV for the morning drive. Please remember to send us your questions using the hashtag WildEarth or the wildearth.tv. You can also follow us on YouTube or Twitter. But yeah, always nice to have all of you guys join us on our live safaris. And we're hoping to see all of you back here tomorrow morning. Alrighty guys, have a wonderful evening. Good night.